Only 30 seconds left, people. I hope you're ready. I like that you can still hear me when this video is going. Didn't realize that the very first time. The first time we did this, Andres and I were like, "Can you hear me? Hello.
What's up?
Happy Friday."
Oh yeah, it's Friday. I didn't contemplate how awesome it is to be here on a Friday. It's a good time.
It is a good time. It is. And I'm just going to start off with, Andres, you look very different than you normally do.
Been tanning. And been growing out my beard.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. And you cut your hair. It looks good.
I did. Jokes aside, I should probably introduce myself for folks that don't know me. My name is Michael Liendo. Can we get names on?
Yeah, of course.
This is a professional establishment
where everybody knows.
There we go. What's up, everybody? My name is Michael Liendo. I go by Focus Otter everywhere. I am a developer advocate over at AWS. I've worked at both the Amplified team and the AppSync team, and it's good to be here. Alan and I have been buddies for years. Can I say years now?
Yes, I think 2 counts as years.
Perfect. Yeah, we're in the plural form of our friendship. Sounds weird. But that's me. Alan, who are you?
Yeah, so my name's Alan Heltson. I go by Alan Heltson. Actually, I go by Alan. And everybody here knows me. We do this on a regular basis. Michael, they should know you as well. This is your 3rd time, I think, joining me for coding something live on a Friday. That sound about right?
Yeah, but it's also like ideas of grandeur, right? I mean, it's like everybody knows me. It's like in my bubble. In my bubble, people know me. But there are always those people that are just like, who is this guy? That's not Andres.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I will, do the one caveat there that the 10 people that show up on time for this when we start do definitely know who you are. Maybe when we get, 30 minutes in and we're over 100, maybe we start, having a different conversation there.
That's our first question to the audience. Do you know who I am? Additional questions, though. I mean, if this is your first time over on the Believe in Serverless Twitch show, welcome. Thanks for being here. What brought you here? It's just us, our faces, and what we have going on today. But also, where are you? What time is it? I always like engaging and understanding a little bit about the folks that take the time to tune in.
Me too. I'm a big fan of that. And normally, Andres and I usually do this show a little bit earlier in the day. And I usually go through the time zones that I know. Say, I think last week we had a session at 11 Texas time. And then we had a whole conversation around how Texas actually spans 2 time zones. And, Andres is in mountain time. Yep. He's in mountain time. So, it's different time for him. And then we started talking about, what time is it in Alaska? What time is it in Hawaii? And then, you go the other side, you go east, and I just don't ever know what time it is over in Europe, which is very American of me. We have Daryl joining us in the land of igloos and maple syrup.
First you had me at Alaska, and then I was like, oh, Canada.
Yes.
I'm assuming.
I'm trying to think of a funny joke for that, but I don't know. I don't have one.
Daryl's my guy. He's always checking out my content and all that good stuff. He's good people. Welcome to the show, Daryl.
Yes. So today, I'm actually really, really excited about today. This is probably, now I've said this is the 3rd week in a row that I've said this. This is the stream I am most excited about and have been the most excited about in a while. So I feel like I could accurately say that every week, the past 3 weeks. It just keeps getting cooler and cooler. We're on a series right now of how simple can I make this? And today we are doing something that, honestly, Michael, you and I both have a decent amount of experience in, which is adding live reactions to our stuff. I say stuff because I have to go generic now. It's not just presentations.
Oh man, you want to give him a little background, or should I give him some background?
I think you should, because as I said off stage before we started this, you're basically the Henry Ford of this idea. You were the innovator. This is your idea.
Oh
So
man,
you go ahead and set the stage for what we're doing.
sounds good. Sounds good. I appreciate it. So one of the things that I've garnered some attention for is that when I give presentations, I love interaction. I don't make them just slides, and you're sitting there reading what I'm saying. I love that interactivity. So I had the idea of using WebSocket connections so that during my presentations, the audience could press a button on their phone. I just deployed a website with a bunch of emojis on it. And every time they press an emoji on the website, it would show up on my presentation slide. Now, obviously, I had to host the web pages on a static site, but that layer was just enough for the audience to say, wow, I really like this site, or wow, this is funny, or even like, I had a hand raise emoji one time, and it was just like, I have a question, which was a prompt for me to be like, who has a question here? And that was the initial setup. The really cool thing is that I did that on a bunch of big AWS stages, and what you end up with are just hundreds of thousands and thousands of emojis flying on the screen all in real time. And you get this really cool way to visualize audience engagement. That was step one. And then Alan and I ping-ponged off of each other. So Alan, what was your step?
Yeah, so I really liked your idea, and I wanted to implement it for myself pretty much as is, but I couldn't because your initial design used Keynote, I think it was, right? Apple Keynote, right? And I have never in my life owned a Mac, not even one. So that was off the table for me. My work computer is a Windows machine. It's always been. My personal machines are always Windows. So I was like, okay, well, what can I do? Can I host PowerPoint in here? But at the time, I didn't even have a license for Microsoft Office. So I was like, okay, well, let me just see if I can do this with Google Slides instead, kind of as is. But let me make it better, of course. So that's the Boy Scout in me. You leave the campsite better than how you found it.
Right.
So took your idea, the concept, and built a web page very similar to you did that more or less generically displayed my Google Slides presentations on a website very similar to what you did, that you could respond with emojis and they fly over the screen. Had a little QR code over in the bottom so people could scan on their phones and then react with like a little remote style thing, which I'm pretty sure you had the same gist. And that was good. But I always had issues with scaling it. Like my laptop screen is very different from the resolution of my ultra wide that's on my desktop. So whenever I would travel for a conference, the dimensions were always messed up and I couldn't display the way I wanted to display. So I was just never happy with the design. And I don't know, you didn't do anything else with it after that initial one, did you?
I took your idea of having the ability to not only put in emojis and also put in questions so that they lined up on the screen. That was the furthest that I've gotten with it.
Okay. I did that too. I built in a comment thing as well. You send your comment in, and then it has a little bubble that pops up maybe on the bottom quarter of the screen, stays there for 5 seconds, and then floats back down, which is a terrible mistake. As if the emojis aren't distracting enough, putting the comments and the questions on there, definitely not. And then I really just couldn't do that on a big stage because you can't trust that the audience isn't going to put something inappropriate in those comments.
You don't have to log in, so you get I guess, have you had flubs with it? I've had one major flub with it. Where
no, with like somebody putting something bad.
Oh my goodness! So I was doing it all client side, and so therefore you can swap out the emojis for whatever you want if you just inspect element. And I had somebody do that as I was giving a presentation on AWS. They happened to be on the opposite end of being a fan of AWS, and instead of emojis, they put in comments, they put in their own unique emojis. They flooded it with several emojis. So instead of like one fire emoji, it was like 10 thumbs down emojis. It was not a good time. But that let me actually, so to answer your question earlier, did I ever do anything else with it? Yes, I moved the logic server side so that it couldn't be tampered with.
Smart man.
Yeah.
Now, the last presentation I did with it, I was on a roll. I don't even remember what I was talking about, but somebody put a comment up. It wasn't even inappropriate. It was just something funny, or like a comment on what I was saying, and just completely stopped me dead in my tracks. Flow was gone. Couldn't do it because the comment was funny and it made me laugh, and I just totally lost in the moment.
Yeah.
So I decided, yeah, we'll probably just avoid that from now on.
As a presenter and the person who made it, it was fine. But I had a co-presenter who was just like, "What the hell is going on? Like this is chaos," and it is definitely distracting if you're not really used to it.
Yes, it is. And one of the negative things that I had from my implementation as well is it really just got rid of presenter mode entirely. It was displaying the Google Slides in iframe, and you could navigate through the iframe, but you didn't have presenter mode, so I couldn't see what was coming. I had to really make sure that I knew the slides backwards and front, which, I mean, I'm just going to throw out there, I always do, but couldn't see notes, couldn't see anything for what was coming.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my God, we got Jonathan in the audience. What up, Jonathan? Good to have you here.
Thank you for joining us, Jonathan. Jonathan, if you guys don't know, works at Serverless Guru, and he, on occasion, steps into these live streams and runs the back office, if you will, for us. Like whenever you hear the oohs and the ahs and the sound effects that happen whenever something happens, that's usually Jonathan pressing buttons behind us. It's always fun.
Oh man!
So thanks for making it out.
Alan, do you have you have something new to show us? Is that right?
Yes. So the stage is set, and I am ready to show and talk about it. So I actually, usually on this stream on Fridays, we're building code. We're writing code basically the whole time, with the end result being, let's see it works. But I was super excited about this one and built it this week while my child was sleeping. So I was really excited about getting it done. So what we're going to do today is a little bit more education around some of the concepts and looking at the finished product first, and then backtrack. And then if you guys have fun ideas for how we can modify it, we will do that. But for right now, I am going to go ahead and introduce version 3 of the live reactions.
Yes.
Right? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
I think it's 3 or 4, but we'll go with 3.
Okay, I mean 3 is accurate because we can say sometimes maybe we started at 0, sometimes we started at 1.
That's fair. That's fair.
So 3, version 3. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And here's the education that we're going to talk about in just a minute. But it is telling of what I made. I made a Chrome extension, which is basically just a little bit of code that Chrome can run on your behalf to do some cool stuff. So before I go in and actually start explaining what all these things are, explain how Chrome extensions work, explain what I built, I'm going to show you the finished product so we can start reacting and distracting me in real time. So what we have, you can see the fire emoji up here on my address bar. This is the Chrome extension that I made. So I can click up here and let's do Michael. So I can name a session. So this is Michael's stream, and I can hit start. And what that's going to do is it is going to enable you, everybody watching, to throw emojis my way across my entire screen. So you see, as soon as I click start, you probably actually can't see it.
Yeah, we can say Helton.farm.
Helton.farm/Michael. Yes, I discovered this week that .farm is a top-level domain, and immediately bought Helton.farm because I do a lot of demos, and I talk about chickens a lot because I have so many. And, I was like, you know what, let's do it. Let's make this run on Helton.farm. So what happens, what we just did, when I hit start, it enabled real-time notifications to my browser. And you can see that this is already working. There's already people throwing some emojis across the screen. And it's down here, Helton.farm/Michael.
Oh my God.
That's going to let you go in and take a look. So I will share what that looks like. Helton.farm/Michael. And this is what you guys should be seeing on your phone or in a browser if you are actually, doing it on your computer. So let's look at what it looks like on the phone. I'm gonna turn that into mobile mode. So it says, "How you feeling?" And it says that you were sending reactions to Michael. This is, again, the channel that we can send these reactions to. So if I click heart, it sends the hearts over. It's really not as impactful if I click the emojis and they roll, because that's that could be matched. But there we go. So there's other ones. Thank you, people that are watching.
What?
So, in the spirit of this show, this is how simple can we make it? And I want to show you guys that building something like this that allows all of you to react in real time to what I'm doing on my machine is really not that hard. So let's do that. Let's go in and look at it. And before we do that, before we actually look at the code, we're going to talk about what this build actually is.
Oh, I have some questions. So for the audience, this is my first time seeing this. I don't know how it's made. This is my first time seeing the actual website. What I'm curious of, like, I have so many questions now. So any website that you go to, as long as you have this Chrome extension running, it's gonna hop on that website. So this isn't like a website specific thing. It's within Chrome itself. It has like a session somewhere.
Yep.
That is okay. Okay, I'm with you. I'm gonna be chiming in with more questions, but
please do.
I love it.
Anybody else that's watching, please do. That's what we're here for. This is more or less a working backwards session from the code. So we're looking at the final product and we're working our way back for how does that actually work.
Yeah.
So to kind of understand how it works, and Michael, this is really in direct answer to your question. This isn't associated to a website. This is the Chrome extension. So I drew out here. Yeah, the reactions aren't distracting at all.
Right.
So I drew here what happens in a Chrome extension. Like, what are the moving parts? What does it look like? How do they interact with each other? And I tried to put, as best I could, in blue the context of each of these things. So for this extension, there's 3 main pieces that we control. We control what this pop-up looks like. We control the fact that it exists, and we control what it does.
Okay.
And its context is that it sits above the browser. It's just this little thing. I don't really have access to anything. It has no idea what tabs are open. It doesn't know anything. It's more or less a dumb little window here that I made. So, it's just a label, an H1, an input, and a button, and that's really all that it does. And how it communicates, how we can get information in, what it does is it communicates with a service worker. Now, if anyone here has made a progressive web app or anything along those lines, knows what a service worker is, even if you've done some, beyond the basics web development, what a background or what a service worker is. It's basically a thread that's running in the background that sits kind of behind the scenes, lurking. And that's the same thing. That's what is happening with this Chrome extension. So this this backgrounds.js file, again, doesn't actually know what tabs are running. It sits back behind the scenes, but it has access to everything that Chrome has to offer, which is really cool. So you have the ability to communicate with Chrome storage, and you can communicate and send messages asynchronously to tabs themselves, to and from the pop-up. It's kind of the orchestrator or the puppeteer. So it is really just an orchestrator that has admin rights, if you will. Mm-hmm. So from our pop-up, we hit start or we hit stop, because I could turn reactions off at any time by hitting that stop button. We saw that. And just to prove that that works, I will do that. No more coming through. But if I hit start again, the floodgates are open and the reactions will resume. And so really what happens when I click that button is it sends a message, runtime.send message down to the background. The background is going to save this session name into Chrome storage. Chrome storage can be accessed anywhere by anything. It's
What do you mean by that?
It can be accessed by the pop-up, it can be accessed by the background, and it can be accessed by the tabs themselves.
Okay.
So it's more or less like your session storage or your app storage inside of the browser, but this is like Chrome's version of it.
Oh, I see. Okay. Now, do you have any experience with building out extensions, or is this your first one?
This was my first one.
What? And
Yeah.
I've always wanted to, but I found it intimidating. And every time people tell me it's not that bad.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
How did you upskill?
ChatGPT. Actually, Claude. Claude is
which one?
What I am using. 3.5 Sonnet.
Oh yeah. Is there any?
Andres and I did a live stream probably about a month ago. We were trying to see how good are Anthropic. What is it called? Artifacts. Where
I remember
ask
that
it to
one.
build big things. You ask it to build more than one page. And it's actually really good as long as it's kind of limited in scope and you're not moving code back and forth between the browser and your IDE. So I gave it a list of requirements and basically was just asking questions. Now, how does this work? What are the moving parts of a Chrome extension? The Google Docs aren't bad, but they are verbose. There is a lot to learn when it comes to extensions and the capabilities that they have.
Which is perfect material to feed to an AI agent or an LLM.
That's right. Yep.
Nice.
And so when you ask targeted questions to LLMs, they will give you targeted answers.
There we go.
So, I wanted to know, how exactly would I build this specific Chrome extension, and it was showing me the moving parts.
That is pretty cool. We got some more folks that just joined us. Cloud Studio and Josh. What up, guys?
All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
right now, we're learning about the moving pieces of a Chrome extension.
It's pretty exciting stuff. It actually is really exciting. If you see the link in the chat, if you go to, helton.farm/Michael, you can see it here in the bottom right of this of the page. Go ahead and say hi by throwing out some reactions. We'd love to see it. This is super cool. Can you show us the how much code are we talking here?
Yeah, I can definitely show that. Let me get through this third piece though, because this is actually the one. This is the one that matters.
Yeah.
So we have here the content.js. This is the one. This is the one that has the context of the actual tab that you're on. Really, all the tabs. So you can see I have 2 tabs open right now, and this content.js is running on both of them. So it is doing the same thing on all the open tabs that I have currently.
Is that to say that there are 2 instances, or it's one instance that is aware of 2 tabs?
Instance of what?
Of content.js. So every time you add a new tab, is it creating a new instance of whatever is inside of content.js?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
It is doing that, and the background.js has context of all of the tabs open in the browser. So whenever they boot up, you can the background will say, here you go, here, learn, this is what we got going on.
Does that mean that if we have a bunch of fire emojis on this tab, that if we go to the next tab, there'll be different emojis? Like each tab has
they will be this. You mean the actual characters, like the actual text characters?
Yeah, if we get flooded with fire emojis on Excalibraw's site and then go to send reaction site, will those emojis be there? Like say the fire emojis are like...
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. They are duplicated. They're duplicate on each tab. So here, do this. Everyone, if you can do me a favor, I'm going to actually put this as a banner so we don't lose it.
Yeah.
Helton.farm.
We're doing an exercise.
Michael. Okay, go there. And start spamming me, please, with
spam him.
Emojis. Any of the 6 emojis that you want on there, please go ahead and start pressing them. as fast as you can. Now, Michael, whenever we're talking, there's about a 10-second delay before they hit it. So
yeah, I get it.
Should have, about 10-second. Anyway, so what we're gonna see when I switch
how streaming
tabs
works.
I don't know if you know this about streaming. So what will happen is, let's say we have 20 emojis going across the screen and I switch tabs. There will be 20 emojis over here on the other tab, but they'll be in different locations because the event handler that picks up on emoji sent just says random X.
Oh, okay. All it knows is that there are emojis there. The positioning happens within the tab itself.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I'm with you.
So that's the last piece here. This content.js, it's manipulating the DOM. That's really all that it's doing when it's receiving an event. So what it's doing is it's adding a div into this web page, and it puts an animation on that div. So just rotation. A certain CSS class. Yep. It has the rotation, and then it also has a keyframe animation that moves the div up to the top and gradually fades out as well.
Sure. This all vanilla J. Can you do anything besides vanilla JS in a Chrome extension?
I don't think so.
Okay, it's probably not even worth it. Like, it's supposed to be a lightweight extension.
Yeah. And, that's actually part of what makes this a really cool project, because this is just plain vanilla JS. And we're doing real-time communications. So cool. There is a piece in there. There is a non-simple piece in there that is, generally not a trivial thing to implement if you're not using an NPM package.
Right.
So let's look at the code per your request before we move on to more of how it works. You want to see how much code is it? Let's look at how much code it actually is.
Yeah. Are you stopped? I haven't seen emojis in a little bit.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'll refresh the page and we'll see if they start coming in. Oh.
Whoa.
Okay, implementation detail. I will talk about that in a second.
It's like hands off. Like, that is just. We were like, can you flood us with emojis? And then we went quiet.
Yes,
sorry, folks.
There it is. So that right there is what you call a message buffer, and is a very, very important part of real-time notifications. We can talk about that in a minute. Not right now. We're going to look at code.
Jonathan, you're right. And this is if you're spamming it, I can see how you get like a hand cramp.
Let's bring that one on the screen. My hand hasn't cramped this bad since Mario Party 2. Same. Feel that. All right, so this is the HTML for that little pop-up. Whenever you click that fire emoji, it's just, what is that? 10 lines of HTML and, 40 lines of CSS.
What?
That's just for the pop-up. That's just for the pop-up. That's really all it is. And that's just the HTML. Right there is JavaScript.
With a header.
There's JavaScript behind it. But yeah, here you can see there's the header, the H2, the help text, the input where you can actually type in the session name.
Yeah.
And then the button.
Can you go back to the UI to show folks like which part you're referring to?
Yes, I can.
So
this is the HTML for this guy.
Gotcha. Yeah, 10 lines of code, basic pop-up. But it's the fact that like Chrome just knows how to like turn that into a pop-up. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Now there is a manifest file inside of Chrome extensions where you can say, where is it? Yeah, this right here is what I want you to show, and somebody clicks on that extension, that icon.
Okay.
So, I just route it to where that file is here in the file system.
I'm with you.
Okay. There we go. All right. So we have that, there's the JavaScript part of it. So this is the actual code that's behind that HTML. And, this is basically running a circuit breaker. That's the majority of the code in here, is that start and stop for receiving events.
Gotcha.
And this is one of our inputs, session name. This is the is polling. That's the toggle switch for the start and the stop button.
Mm-hmm.
And then really the rest of this is just very easy manipulation. This is the event handler. When you hit that submit button, it does form validation to make sure that you actually fill that field out.
Yep. No
And then
special
it's setting
characters.
that Chrome storage right there. So it's putting it back so the actual content and the backgrounds can access the data that we saved in there. And then here's the async communication between the pop-up and that background JS file, where it's doing chrome.runtime.send message. So this will only go to the background thread. It does not go to the tabs. It does not have context of the tabs.
Oh, that's the overlaying. Like that's the main part of your diagram.
Yeah, so this send message is picked up by this guy.
Okay. Gotcha.
It goes this way. It will not go this way. It's not allowed. When I hit send message in this pop-up, it is not allowed to go to the tabs themselves. It's built that way for security.
Yeah.
Built that way for security reasons. So
right,
it goes down to the background.
If I have mybankaccount.com set up, you can't have a Chrome extension for one tab accessing that data. That makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Fire.
So we have all that. I won't go through line by line what all of this is, but that's 50-ish lines of code for the pop-up.
Yeah.
For the code behind the pop-up background. All this is basically taking an event from one side and passing it along somewhere else.
I always felt like creating a Chrome extension should be one of the beginner JavaScript tutorials that people do when they get up and running with web development, because it really is just basic DOM manipulation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
And then you can always make it bigger, but I mean, at its core, that's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And it teaches a lot of different fundamentals as well, because we're learning about event-driven architectures. That's really what this is. The different components are just the different components inside of the extension itself. It's all async communication with event handlers, which is really neat.
How long did it take you to build this?
I mean, I got the functionality up in about an hour.
Wow.
And then I added the circuit breaker part in probably another hour, and then I spent one more hour making it look nice.
That is crazy. With the help of an LLM.
Yes.
That is really, I mean, that just shows where we are.
Definitely. Yeah. Absolutely. So, this is respond to an event from one place and basically pass it along somewhere else. The background worker doesn't do much other than that. That's all that's really doing. Here's the listener from the pop-up. And, it's making sure that it sets up that storage, and then it updates the tab. So it goes in and manipulates the content.js file for every tab that you currently have open. And it's sending that message over there.
But there has to be a service that says, I'm going to listen to these events happening, and then I'll allow you to publish events also. Right? I haven't seen that part yet. What's handling that?
Because you're jumping ahead.
What do we have? What am I jumping ahead to?
I'm gonna go ahead.
I see it right there on line 1. There it is.
Yeah. So let's go back to my diagram, because it makes a lot more sense when it's drawn versus looking at code.
Yeah.
So this is the secret sauce, and I love how simple it is. I was drawing this out the other day, and I was like, what else do I add? Oh, there's really nothing else to add. It really is just this simple.
Yeah.
And I did something that I thought was really cool. I'll give props to Quadra for the idea. I don't want to put in first, before I go there, this is using memento topics. That's really the secret behind all of this. Whenever you guys are pressing an emoji on your phones, you are publishing to a memento topic. And what this Chrome extension is doing is it is subscribing to said topic. And the secret, what we've been doing all along, is whenever we put in that session name, whenever we type in /Michael at the end, that is the name of the topic that we're publishing and subscribing to. Some people think about this as channel. That's the word that they use for this type of communication. is the channel. So let's there we go. Let's talk about this a little bit. I don't like putting in API keys in something that is going to somebody's machine. It's really
Same.
my least favorite thing. So one of the things I did that I thought was really cool in this project is have control in the Chrome extension itself to like do a whole bunch of stuff that I do like on your phone. So I need a Momento API key in order to subscribe to a topic.
Yep.
But I don't want to pass that API key down to the actual extension itself because that's not inherently safe in general. So what I did is I made a CloudFront distribution inside of AWS, and all I do is forward the traffic onto the Momento HTTP API and force an authorization header in there. I'm basically enriching the request. I'm intercepting the request at CloudFront, adding the auth header in at the distribution, and then passing that along to the Momento APIs.
That's so smart. You just have CloudFront, which is super low cost, super efficient, and it's your proxy to Momento. And of all things, like I could think of like 5 different ways that I would do it, and it would all be more complicated than this. It's like, oh, we were just gonna like set up a Lambda that grabs a secret from Secrets Manager, a parameter store. But no, this is just CloudFront auth headers using the web for what the web is intended, and then just setting it there and accessing stuff from Momento. I'm impressed, Alan. I'm impressed. I'm impressed, one, because your Excalibur diagrams look better than mine. That was the first thing that caught my attention. I'm a little upset about it. I'm impressed, two, at how simple this is. Granted, you got some help from Quadra, who's a genius. But also, like, this is smart in its simplicity, which is what I'm just having a hard time wrapping my head around. This is such an efficient and elegant way of handling this kind of stuff, which is generally like hard, right? Passing web data from one website to a completely different one is tough. Yeah. And yet Momento Topics has just made it so simple.
It has. And we recently added the ability to be able to do long polling with topics. So this is kind of, you wouldn't be able to do this a month ago. We'll just say that. So long polling is a brand new thing, and it's something that I wanted to share, especially to you, Michael, because I know you like real-time notifications.
I do.
Kind of like I like real-time notifications. They're way more than WebSockets, like what a lot of people think.
Explain
real-time
long
data.
polling.
Yeah. So you know what? I'm glad you asked. We didn't even prepare this question because I have that in my diagram right there. Look at that. Already locked and loaded. These are your options. And really what this means, when we're talking about real-time notifications, we're talking about getting data from the server. Something happened on the server to your client. And what we usually think about, I'm going to start from the bottom, is push notifications.
Yep.
So that's something that everybody knows as WebSockets, right? I have a persistent connection from the client. In this case, it's the browser with the server side. And in this case, this is Momento, the Momento service in general. And whenever something happens, like a message is published to a topic, it just passes it right down along that open connection.
Yeah.
And my example here is, here, I have something for you. It's like you're on the phone and you ask a question and you get your answer immediately. Now, when you don't have that capability, and I don't think we could do that in a Chrome extension, because that, at least with Momento, for good, super, ultra, lightning fast, resilient subscriptions, uses gRPC. It doesn't use WebSockets, but it uses gRPC for persistent connections that, retry and have a whole bunch of different stuff in them to make that a good experience. That's heavy for a Chrome extension. Can't do that. So instead, what we're doing is
just so I know,
long polling.
You're because I don't know the intricacies of this. gRPC is heavier than WebSockets, is what you're saying?
Not necessarily.
The other way.
I'm not necessarily saying it's heavy. What I am trying to say is this concept, the persisting a long connection, is it's a little bit heavy for vanilla JS
Okay.
without doing a package. You do not want to do that by yourself.
Oh, gotcha. Not heavy as in weight, heavy as in difficulty.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm with you.
Because there's a lot that goes into it, especially for connection management and all that. I'm not going to go into that because I could go on for a very long time on that. We don't have a very long time. So your other option, if you can't get a push from the server, is a poll, which is going back and forth. We'll talk with the short poll because this is what people think of when they think of polling, is a request response. Do you have anything? No. Do you have anything? No. Do you have anything? Yes. And that goes on regular intervals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Based on your SLA for your real time. It could be every second. It could be every 5 seconds. It could be every minute looking for an update. Honestly, it depends on your background processing your use case. And that is wasteful because you are using unnecessary bandwidth to poll over and over and over again when that answer 99 times out of 100 is no, I don't have anything.
Right.
The other thing about short polling is you're at a slave to your intervals. So let's say you're doing 1 minute polls where you're checking every minute, did something happen? You get a response back, no, I don't have anything. 1 second later, something happens and you want to get that message, right? You still have 59 more seconds until you check again. And after that 59 seconds, you will get that response back. Yeah, I do have something. Here it is. And at that point, is that real time? Nope.
I don't consider it real time.
Especially when it comes to something like what we're doing today, where we're sending emojis on. If I was waiting a minute to go fetch everything, then all these emojis would be flying across the screen and not make any sense based on the conversation that we're having.
Right.
So to get by that, you do long polling, where the server will wait to respond until that answer is yes. So you are not getting, you're not doing a bunch of, do you have anything? No. Do you have anything? No. It's, if you look at my example here, do you have anything? Yes. And then you are provided in basically real time everything that it has for you. And then really that comes down to an implementation detail at that point. As soon as you get a response, you got to start that connection again.
So the question switches from do you have anything to let me know when you have something.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll wait.
Gotcha. Interesting.
JavaScript is great for that because you can just send that off to async and then it will come back when it's done and update.
Do you have to worry about timeouts at that point? Do you have anything? And then it's like, I can't wait forever.
Yeah. Again, implementation detail.
Yeah.
The Memento servers will not terminate the connection for you.
Okay.
It will maintain that open connection and wait as long as you wait. But standard practice is, yes, we should probably terminate that connection and
right.
And whatnot. And that's actually what's happening whenever we're getting messages buffering and I have to refresh the page. I am terminating the connection and it seems like I have a bug in there that doesn't spin it back up after X amount of time.
Oh, I see. That's just a you bug. And
yeah.
The SERP Memento will handle all that stuff for you.
Yes.
Cool.
Now, what's also cool, and then we'll move on, is you see when I'm hitting that refresh button and you see just a swath of emojis come in. That is coming in from a message buffer. So all of these messages, because my subscriber basically lost its connection, all the messages that were sent to it on reconnection are ending up getting delivered after a certain amount of time. So I'm not really missing anything. I'm not processing them as they come in because my subscriber disconnected. But as soon as I reconnect, here they all are. And you see that big, big boom.
I was wondering, it's like the buffer itself. I was wondering, like, how does that work? That's probably like the missing link in my brain right now is when you refresh the page, I would expect them all to just be gone. Whatever I missed, I missed. But you're saying the Memento service is holding on to them?
Yeah, Topics, yes. Topics is doing that for you. It's not a very long buffer, but it is happening. No, we're not going to hold them forever.
Is it a buffer in time or a buffer in data storage? Like
That is a that could be based on whatever service you're using, either one. Right now for Memento, it is a time-based buffer.
Okay. Do you know, is it secret sauce on how long that is? Can you adjust it, or?
Right now it is not adjustable, but I think it's on the roadmap. That,
Okay.
Yes, you absolutely can.
How long is it, or does it just kind of vary?
Stop pushing me. I don't know.
I'm so interested in this stuff.
I don't know. I think it depends on how much you're willing to pay, because
makes sense.
does cost money. That's all hot storage.
Yeah.
So hot storage is significantly more expensive than disk storage.
Yeah. Got you. That's why you brought me on. I'm gonna be like, hey, I'm so curious about this stuff. Gotcha.
Yes.
And for folks in the audience, if any of you have questions on this, or if you missed a certain part and you're like, hey, did you already cover this part? Let us know. We'd love to circle back. We'd love to answer your thoughts and your questions. That's what we're here for. This is a really cool interactive project, and I want to make sure that we're engaging on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise,
Thank you for that.
Yeah, for sure. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep asking questions, and then I guess now we're long polling, right? I'm waiting for the audience to get back to me. So
yeah. So the takeaway from this little aside when we're talking about real-time notifications is that this Chrome extension is doing long polling. It is making a call to the Memento service that says, give me some, give me an update when you have it. It says, here's my update, and then it immediately says, okay, give me another update when you have something.
Yeah, got you.
That's the implementation detail for long polling. Jonathan had a good question. So what are some use cases you imagine for this? That's a really good question, because you could use this for almost anything, but particularly where long polling is effective is on devices and things that don't have a whole lot of privilege or runtime capacity. So you can pretty much anything these days can call an HTTP request, but not everything can run Node. Go ahead.
But like, to give a concrete example, I would think of like live scoring updates, right? Especially, I guess, with this application, you could be on a different website. You can browse and do your work as normal, and if you have this extension up, you can just get a pop-up telling you what the latest score is on a basketball game or a football game that you're following, and that would show up across your tabs. That would be super cool.
Yeah, and that's more of a real-time notification use case, not necessarily a long polling use case.
Okay.
Where a long polling use case is something more of like IoT, where you have devices that, again, don't have a lot of runtime capacity. It's more of, I have a Wi-Fi chip and I can make an HTTP call. So let's say your smart switches in your house, right? What they're doing is they're waiting for a command from your phone to turn on and off. But you can bet that chip that's on that smart switch is not running Python. It's definitely not doing that. That, dramatically increases the cost of the chip, which is going to cost more on, the consumer. So keeping those costs low and doing things like HTTP is a great use case. So something with a long poll.
Gotcha. Side note, I've been dabbling back into Raspberry Pi, and I even have my book right here, and they've updated since my first attempt at doing this. MicroPi is what they use now. But to your point, you're absolutely right. It is a very slimmed down version of Python that is just tailored towards IoT devices. Pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's where long polling really comes into play versus something like managing a persistent connection. You also see things like the MQTT protocol on IoT devices, which is, I think that does go over HTTP. And what's nice about those is those have like additional connection components. Like you have last will and testament. So this is run this when this connection disconnects.
Last will and testament. Who names this stuff?
That's what it's actually called, but it makes sense, right? On connection terminate, do this.
Yeah.
And there's several other things that MQTT provides, that things like WebSocket stuff or gRPC even.
So I'm hearing gRPC, WebSockets, long polling, and MQTT. Which one's the best?
Oh gosh, man. I'll give you the honest answer. Is it depends on your use case.
Okay, got you.
And it depends on what your indicators of success are.
Okay.
If your indicators of success are high throughput and extremely low latency, it's probably gRPC. It uses protocol buffers as the kind of the underlying serialization, which is significantly lighter weight than anything in HTTP. And it has built-in retries, and it has built-in error handling, and it offers multiplexing. Multiplexing being the ability to share an open connection across multiple channels. So you don't have to have a one-for-one connection to the server if you're subscribing for multiple things.
Oh, super nice. Okay. Okay, but there's some niceties that must come with long pulling and WebSockets that MQTT just isn't built for. I would think like mainly like web applications, right? I wouldn't use MQTT for a web app.
No, you wouldn't. No,
Okay.
It's more complex. It has a lot more things to
That's
do.
the trade-off.
MQTT, and not everything supports it. Like a browser doesn't really support MQTT.
Okay, so if MQTT is Rust, then WebSockets are Node. I don't know. I'm trying to like make the connection. And you're like, no, I just told you it depends.
I should probably do the shameless plug for a blog I wrote on my website.
Do it.
I don't know, several months ago, about which real-time notification type or protocol is for you, something like that.
See if I can find it for you.
I'm not gonna look, so I'll let you win this one. And it goes down and it breaks down WebSockets, gRPC, server sent events, which is one that we haven't been talking about, and I think one other one. I don't remember what it is.
Got it.
Offhand.
SSE.
That's server sent events.
Okay, WebSockets, MQTT, gRPC, and WebSockets, which is great for you.
Yeah. So there's that. I don't know why I'm sharing this on the screen. Nobody's gonna type that in. But you can
I
go to my website.
I clearly need to read this.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
Which is why I get on this pedestal when people say, "Oh, real-time notifications. You mean WebSockets?" And I make a face now. I cringe every time somebody says that. It's like, sure.
I would say that honestly, and knowing that there's MQTT, I still wouldn't make that distinction. I'd be like, it's all WebSockets, like as an umbrella term, without realizing the nuance that comes from each one.
Yep.
I think, yeah. I need to level up in this stuff.
Jonathan was right. Just go to readysetcloud.io, and then you can hit in the search bar notification, and you will find it. It'll be the first result that comes back.
There you go.
Okay, so where were we? We were actually talking about something productive. Oh yeah, we should talk about something cool because I have a follow-up from last week. So the page that you guys have been seeing on your phones, this page is rendered via a Lambda function. So
what?
I have,
Are you streaming HTML back?
I am returning it as a response. It's not being streamed.
Okay, I'm with you. This is what I get for missing last week's episode.
Yeah. I'll actually show the code for this Lambda function. But this one, I have an API gateway in a side of AWS, and it routes to this Lambda function, and this Lambda function will generate the HTML and return that in a response with the content type of text/HTML. I think that's what it is. And then the browser knows how to render a content type like that, and it just looks like this automatically on the screen. We got a question on an implementation detail. Could you use a function URL? Yeah, totally could.
And just take out the API gateway part.
Yep. Honestly, I did it this way because I wanted the custom domain.
Makes sense.
That that was that. Now you can also do that with CloudFront, as we saw with what I was doing with the enrichment of that token. But for me, it's just easier to do API gateway
It is.
to Lambda.
Yeah. My question is, why? Why would you want to return to HTML? Is it like because I can? Or?
Two reasons.
Okay.
Would you do two with two hands like this, or would you
No.
do two with two hands like this?
Alan, nobody does either of those things.
Two reasons.
That's 4 fingers, and then you held up 11. It's like
2 reasons.
Okay.
One, I don't like setting up new UI projects. So I guess you can read into that laziness as option 1. I don't like that. But to expand on that just a little bit more, it's totally unnecessary for an entire Next.js project or whatever UI framework I'm using. It's totally unnecessary for this one page. And second, I am trying to get around what is known as the token vending machine pattern.
Ooh, this is new concept time. Ding ding.
Now we all know when we're pressing these buttons here, we are publishing to Memento. We're publishing a message that says heart, that says mind blown, that says fire, 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 fire. And in order to publish, you need an API key, right?
Yep.
This is not going through the same CloudFront distribution as what we were doing before. So we don't really get that enrichment of the API key. So what we're doing is I am passing down a temporary limited scope auth token for Memento that can only publish to the Michael topic.
Okay.
It can't read any of my caches. It can't subscribe to Michael. It can only read, or it can only write, and it expires in an hour. So if you left this open for longer than an hour and you hit that button, it would stop working.
All right.
So a traditional token vending machine, if I have a big web page inside of a Next.js app, let's just say that, is I would use an API call. Give me a token, right? Return that token down to me. And then I would use that to initialize my client and be good, right? Follow me on that?
I have questions, but I do follow. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm almost done.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
With the server-side rendering of this HTML file inside of Lambda, I can generate that token, that short scope token inside the Lambda function, and then just embed it directly in the HTML and pass that HTML down.
But does that mean you can right click and see your limited scope token?
Yeah, you could anyway.
Yes.
You could in a token vending machine.
But I'm with you. So now I'm just want to clarify an approach. I understand what's happening. So if I could right click, grab your token, that means I can now use that to send my own emojis to your website. And I guess the question is that a bad thing? I don't think it is.
It would be if I gave you my general API key, the one that has access to add and create caches.
That's where I was
do
at.
all that.
You're right.
But because I have limited the scope and the expiration time on it, totally fine.
Yeah,
totally
that is fine. That's like a JWT at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So I mean, if you want to look at it, we can certainly, I am happy to show you the embedded token. There it is, right there.
Yeah.
And that's just straight from the HTML that Lambda is returning. I don't need to make another API call. I have to fetch this HTML anyway. If this was a static site hosted in S3, I'm still making that network call to get the HTML. So embedding that token inside of the HTML is gonna, go ahead and let me have one less round trip call.
Why not get a long-lived token? I'm just playing devil's advocate at this point.
Sure.
Why not get a long-lived token with probably over permissions, and just fetch that server side. So you never store it in your HTML, and you just say, when somebody makes a call, I'm going to go fetch the secret from parameter store, and then make that call server side.
Why would I not? Why? Because I can do it from the browser.
Because you can do it. Okay, so you're limiting the amount of HTTP requests.
Yeah.
Which in a project all about reducing latency is actually a big deal.
It's simpler as well. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's fewer moving parts when we're thinking about it. Because here's the thing, right? Here's the simpler piece. I have to make an API call when you hit an emoji.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
No matter what. No matter what my implementation is, I have to do that. The simplest approach is, why don't I just call Momento directly versus call an API that I wrote that now I have to maintain forever that calls it for me on the server. Especially when I have a limited scope token that only does the one thing that I want it to do.
That is fair. I have no counter argument to that. That's fair. You win this round.
Okay. Really not that much more. I mean, this is intended to be simple.
Wait. Can you go back though?
Yeah.
So what I want, my question that I had earlier was on your fetch call, you have /Michael already sent in your, like that's what's kind of throwing me. I think that deserves calling out, right? Because you dynamically put it in the session name. So
to the code.
Your Lambda function must grab the pop-up event and get like event.session name.
Okay, so this is something I wanted to follow up from last time. Last time we were talking about building basically server-side rendering inside a Lambda. And last time I had the HTML in here, and I was basically just using string interpolation to build the pieces.
Makes sense.
And somebody asked me, isn't there an easier way to do that? Because that looks rough. Yes, they're right. Yes, that is rough. And one of the suggestions that I had was you could probably just use handlebars to do this, which is it. You say that it's still maintained. It's still
so is jQuery. I mean,
okay, you might win this one. But as far as like simplicity goes, because remember that's my overarching thing. I want this to be as simple as possible, not only in the amount of fewest moving parts, but also I want somebody to be able to go into it and look at it and tell what it's doing. Having 100 lines of HTML embedded inside of this code here makes it a little bit muddy to read, right?
Okay.
So all it's doing is it has the emojis that I want to support up here.
Yep.
Right. And this is how I get by the emoji injection problem that you have.
I tried it already, and I was like, he did it.
I aliased them. So I aliased the emojis with a text version, and then on the subscriber side, I check, do I have a match for what's coming over? Yes, let's render that one. So if somebody tries to inject anything else, like an eggplant emoji, for a good example, that's not going to render because I don't have eggplant in my array of supported emojis.
Careful now, we're streaming on Twitch.
Okay, I'm not going to go any further than that.
No.
So here you go, Michael. So here's what we've done. In answer to your question, how is Michael embedded in the HTML that is being used to fetch or publish the emoji that I have? Right up here, this is the start of the handler. I have the topic, which is the path parameter. Right, we went to, if you look at the ticker on our screen right now, hilton.farm/Michael. So Michael is the topic inside of the path parameter, and then I am passing that in to the handlebars template. Okay. That's part of the data elements. And so inside of this HTML, I use that right here. So you can see here at the end, it's using that topic, which is coming from the path variable that hits my API.
I think this is a good showcase of what can be done. I would use Next.js or not Next.js. I would use a server side front end framework, just so that you don't have to render your HTML as a string, right? You kind of lose developer experience. But this is like making my gears turn. It's like, you're right, because Next.js is an overpowered framework, and sometimes if you know exactly what you need, this is here for you. This is interesting.
It is. It's lightweight. It works in a pinch. Do I recommend using this in production? It depends on the scale, I guess.
Yeah. Like, what does production mean? Like, technically, you're in production. It's working. Are you at risk for string interpolation, or what is it? String injection? Can somebody name your session name with malicious JavaScript and have that affect your code?
If they can do it in fewer than 15 characters, because I did.
Oh, that's right.
I did think about that, and I limited it intentionally to only letters and numbers and a max of 15 characters.
You can. I don't want to say how, but yes. Okay. And then the other question is this cached by a CDN? If it's just Lambda rendering raw HTML, does that mean that there's no caching besides what the browser gives you?
It's not currently, but it could be.
But it's so lightweight. I'm just asking questions just to understand.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with this. Seems fine.
Yep. The thing with the caching is because we're passing in an expirable token.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that cache invalidates before that token invalidates.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't think about that. So there's a bit of a, not really a race condition, but just something to be aware of.
Yeah, if you end up trying to cache something like this. Yep.
Are you doing any memento caching in here?
Are we using cache? No, this is only topics. The entire thing is topics. It's just so simple. Let me go back. Let me see.
Yeah, can we do after you do this, can you do a like a refresh for the folks to kind of show them where we're at and where we came from?
Yeah. Okay, so here's the drawn version of what we were just looking at, Michael.
Jonathan, thanks for stopping by. I see you got to help out, or you got to hop off. Great having you here, man. Always good to have you.
Mm-hmm. So here's what we were just looking at. I didn't draw API gateway for whatever reason, but API gateway with the custom domain on it, Hilton.farms.
Yep.
That goes to Lambda, creates that memento auth token using the Node.js SDK, and then it will generate and serve that HTML, right? And I drew this to show, what is supported in there. And so whenever you press one of those, it's using the HTTP API, very similar to what we're using in the, the extension itself, to say publish emoji heart, goes to topics, and that's when that long poll will finally respond. And you go and you're on your merry way. Add 100 to the DOM, put that class name on it that animates it up off the screen.
Wow.
And then the circuit breaker stuff.
Yeah.
That's the part that honestly made it markedly more complex, is turning that off and on. Yeah. But I've learned my lesson from doing these live interactions live when I'm streaming something, and I will never not have an off switch again.
I added an off switch. I never added like an on off switch, like a toggle. I was just like, all right, it's got too much. I'm just going to shut it off for the rest of this session. Nice.
And that's it. That's the whole thing. So let's go. Let's walk it all the way back for the people that missed the beginning. Let's do it. We'll go through relatively quickly. So Michael and I have been code battling for a year and a half, longer than a year and a half on this project, where Michael made the very first version of, I think you called it the emoji thrower, where people could react live to a presentation that he was giving. I think you go to a web page on your phone, it provides you with emojis, and you press one and it sends the emoji up and over. Then I made a version of it that was adaptable for Google Slides, because his was for Keynote. And then we went back and forth with adding comments in there, realized that was a terrible idea. And now we have reached the current final form where it is a Chrome extension that kind of just sits above everything. It's not tied to a specific page. It's not tied to a presentation. It is a Chrome extension that has its own contexts that really lets you use and get reactions wherever you are on the internet. And so we walked through, how does a Chrome extension work? You have a pop-up which has its own context, which is this guy right here. It has no idea what tabs are open, and it never will because it's not allowed to talk to tabs. It's allowed to talk to a service worker or a background thread that lives inside of Chrome that does that handling and manipulation on its own. So you can see we do a send message, asynchronously talk to the background worker. The background worker will save basically the toggle switch, this start stop button, and it will save the session name, which is now what we've learned. It's the Memento topic that we are subscribing to. The background worker will say, okay, cool. Let me pass that on to all the tabs. And all of the tabs will update their topic variable and start subscribing to that topic via long polling. We had a whole long discussion on the different types of real-time notifications down here, where long polling is a request to a server from a client and says, do you have anything? And the server will only respond when that answer is yes, which is different from traditional short polling or colloquially polling, where you ask a request response every 5 seconds, every minute. And it's also different from a push notification where the server says, here, I have something for you. Mm-hmm. And we do it this way because we have limited runtime capabilities inside of Chrome, inside of the extension itself. We don't have access to a whole bunch of cool NPM packages. So we're long polling, basically just doing a fetch on the Memento topic that we decided inside of this. So this one is Michael. And we do a request through CloudFront that intercepts our call when we're subscribing, when we're doing that long poll. It adds an authorization header for us, so I don't have to put my Memento API key inside of the code that you all can use. This is open source in GitHub. It adds the authorization header for you and then forwards that request on to the Memento service directly. At which point we talked about the viewer side, you guys, where you have this on your phones, where you can say, how are you feeling? And you can push one of these emojis to send a reaction my way, which is being rendered from a Lambda function, embedding a Memento token inside of the HTML. And then we are using the Memento HTTP API to publish the emoji that you chose to topics, and that will respond. That'll make that long poll respond, and then we can add the emoji that you chose to the DOM inside of the web page that we're on with a CSS class that animates up off the screen and rotates randomly. It sounds a lot more complicated when I explain it like that.
It really does. Yeah. But all that's to say is using a Chrome extension, you can publish a message from a specific web page and have those messages appear on any web page. It's pretty crazy. And like you said, like the explanation is more long-winded than the actual implementation of it. It's a very simple application, but simple doesn't have to mean not powerful. There's a lot of capability here, and a lot of that is thanks to CloudFront. It's thanks to Memento, and it's honestly thanks to just the simplification of just using JavaScript.
Yes, the design decisions made it pretty simple. It took me a while to be able to think of something that could be built this simply. Like, how can we improve on what you and I have been working on for like a year and a half? Yeah, and I'm glad we got to this point.
Well, the pressure's on, right? I guess the ball's in my court to try and one-up this. Damn it. Now I gotta, like, sit here and stay up. Like, it's like that meme where my wife is like, I bet he's cheating on me. And I'm like, how do I beat Alan? It's like...
That's funny. I know exactly the meme that you're talking about. The one where
Yeah,
he's like
yeah.
looking
If you
over
don't
his
know the
shoulder.
image, that sounded horrible. It's a popular meme, I promise.
Yes.
Oh man. So okay, yeah. So awesome job, first and foremost. Are you gonna give a conference talk on this? I feel like this should be amplified a little bit more, with respects to just having more
Maybe.
eyes on it. You should.
Maybe. Well, most of the cool builds that I do, lately have first been shown here,
Yeah.
on the live stream. And then, we chunk it up into clips and share the important parts of the clips so people can get summaries, because you and I have been talking for 76 minutes at this point,
Right.
which is a long time. But as I do, it will be a blog post, and I'll be able to do that. I'm not really traveling right now, so I'm not going to be doing conference talks for the time being. But yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I like stuff like this. I like making builders think different ways.
That's true. That's true. You're really good at that. And for those of you that don't know Alan, he's just really good at explaining complex situations into very easy and digestible topics, either in a blog or if you just catch the man in person. You're really good at explaining those concepts.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I work hard to get the metaphors and the concepts. I actually, honestly, I know people don't like this answer, but I work with ChatGPT a lot. And I go back and forth when I'm trying to understand and figure out how I want to explain technical concepts simply. I work with it to say, how would you explain this to a 5-year-old? How would you explain this to a 10-year-old? And usually I can get like the overarching ideas, and then I can start taking it and modifying that to something that's a little bit more relevant to whoever I'm talking to, right? Like to you, I can talk more technical. To my wife, I would definitely not.
Yep.
But as long as you get the core, as long as you get it right, you can adapt how you explain things.
It's definitely a thought exercise. I think fortunately the industry has moved beyond asking ChatGPT or whatever LLM a question and then just copy and pasting that response. Now it's more what we're known as prompt engineering, which is like, I need to have a back and forth conversation so that we can really get to the heart of what I'm trying to figure out. And you're right. Sometimes what we're trying to figure out is just, how do I better explain this concept to this particular audience? And LMMs are really like the go-to tool these days.
They definitely are. I always have a tab open with ChatGPT. I actually have ChatGPT and Claude open pretty much all the time.
So here's where I'm at with it, right? Obviously I work at AWS. Bedrock is the service of choice, right? But for the simplicity factor, like my fingers just naturally type in ChatGPT and then I'm taken to this website, right? Now, if I want to get down into the nitty-gritty of something, I use Claude and over on the Anthropic website. And then if I know that I'm going to be integrating something into an application, I just go to Bedrock and I'm just like, I'm going to be using this anyways, so I'm going to get that response there. But for like, it kind of depends, like what is the purpose that I'm trying to achieve here?
Totally. Absolutely. And Bedrock's not an LLM. It's kind of like a wrapper around a bunch of different LLMs.
Yeah. So the nice thing is that with the playground, it is like a really nice way to go into the playground and just play around with the different models so that you can get like the response that is tailored to your needs. Because sometimes they get too, I'll say, excited or enriched with their responses. You ask it like, what's the weather? And it's like, well, it's a miraculous day outside. And I'm just like, this is like, stop talking to me like that. And different models talk to you differently.
Yep. So to step away from generative AI, I don't know how we always do it. And we always do it in every conversation. I actually missed a question from Josh Proto. And he asked, what are some examples where an app or project has been improved with real-time notifications? And I did actually give a talk on this exact topic in January of this year at that conference here in Texas. And the short answer is pretty much everything.
Yeah.
And what makes a good one is you don't really realize that that's what's happening in front of you. So the example that I walk through in my conference talk for async real-time notifications is using WhatsApp. We don't usually use it here in the United States, but for everywhere else, that's that's texting. So I use it because I have a lot of friends over in Europe, and I can't really text them. So WhatsApp does a fantastic job at keeping user attention, because it is sending real-time notifications on something that is typically a fire and forget activity, right? So you and I, Michael, let's just say you and I are sending messages over WhatsApp. I might look at my phone for 5 seconds after I send a message, because I'm waiting for your response. And if I don't have a message in 5 seconds, I'm turning the app off. But with real-time notifications, what I can do is when I send you a message, I get constant tiny pings that are essentially resetting my internal 5-second timer. I can see that my message was delivered to you by a little checkbox. I can see that you read my message by that checkbox turning blue. I can see up at the top your status changes from away to here. And now I can see that you're typing. So every time you're making a change, you're like basically resetting my attention span. So instead of me looking at the app for 5 seconds, I'm now looking at it for 30 while I wait for your response. And it feels like 2 seconds. Yep. So just that whole experience of messaging is drastically improved by real-time notifications.
Yeah, I would say even more generally, anytime you can, I really like how you put it, reset somebody's internal clock, attention clock, then it's going to be a win. And with short form media, short form video, short form anything, there's always that race, that competition to see who can keep your attention the longest. And the easiest way is to have something like a notification for, for good and bad. The easiest way is just to ping somebody and send them those real-time events, or long polling events, however you want to sort of make that nuance. It's that any app can be improved with that, is what I'm trying to say.
Definitely. And one more anecdote on that one. I used to write software for the government and law enforcement and various roles of people inside of the US government. And I built a warrant application, like for your arrest or to go in to somebody's house kind of thing, where it connected police officers to judges to keep them from driving to their houses to get something signed or driving to the courthouse to get something signed. Because if you need to go into somebody's house, you have to have a warrant to legally be able to do it. So the software that we were writing was trying to expedite that process because, time matters with stuff like that. So anyway, you would, as a police officer, create a warrant, send it off to the judge. And then as soon as it was done, we would have real-time notifications that would ping you and say, all right, good to go. Let's go right now. And you would go. Yeah. And, one of the practical use cases for that was like if someone's pulled over for drunk driving. And, when you're driving drunk, every second your blood alcohol level drops a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And when you have to go figure out who the judge is and then go drive to their house if it's 2 a.m, write the document, bring it to them. He has to read it, sign it, and then go drive all the way back maybe to the hospital to have blood drawn if they're refusing a breathalyzer. By that time, it could be like 3 or 4 hours later, and that person's not drunk anymore. Yeah. And, they get off scot-free. So, the real-time notifications and that software in general helped us get people in trouble that should be in trouble. Let's say it that way.
Yep. Yeah. I love it because I love that example because it's so far removed from tech, and yet it still has a place. This is in person, this is real world situations, and yet we're still dealing with real-time events. Good example.
Yeah, thank you. What do you mean Alan is the ops? What does that mean?
The ops is like the cops, the person that snitches, the person that gets you in trouble. It's like, you wrote that software.
Yeah, that was me. That was me.
But like you said, people that should be in trouble are getting in trouble. So
yes. All right, let me take away this ticker because we're not doing that anymore. There we go. All right. I don't think I missed any other questions from anybody, but we're wrapping up. So if you guys have any other questions about real-time notifications, about the emoji thing, about this specific build, now is the time. And
or anything else.
Yeah, or anything else while you have Michael and I here.
Alan, what's your favorite comfort food?
Pizza.
Mmm.
Like it's not even a close second. It is
Really?
by far pizza. Yes.
You a pizza? You're a pineapple and pepperoni, or what do you?
It's not actually an easy answer. In general, I don't like to pick favorites. What my favorite thing is trying something that I've never tried before. That is
Okay.
for me like the best. Like last night, I took my daughter out to a pizza place, and the pizza that I got had pepperoni, pickled jalapenos, and cream cheese on it.
You're doing too much. Okay.
So it was simple, but it was something I hadn't had before. I've had pizzas that are mozzarella, figs, and balsamic, and that's just kind of my jam.
Good. Yeah, that's good.
That one. Yeah. So anything. What about you?
Tacos. I think most people who follow me know that. Like, I am a taco connoisseur. I like making tacos. I like cooking different types of meat for my tacos. I like consuming them and trying out different venues. That is my thing.
Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, it's like I had to pause because I'm just like, yeah, they're just really that incredible. I am a taco guy.
Okay, whenever you come visit to Texas, I'm gonna take you to HEB, which is a grocery store here.
Okay.
And they make the absolute best tortillas, like the best. And I'll put a flag in the ground and stake that claim. You will have a hard time finding better tortillas than what they make at that store.
Are we talking double layered, single layered, corn, flour? If it's Texas, it has to be corn.
These are mostly flour. I think they have corn, but
best tacos, he says.
It is Tex-Mex. It's not just Mexican.
Okay.
So,
like I said, I am a connoisseur, so I'll try it. I'll take you up on it.
Okay, I might just mail you some.
Some tacos?
No, it's the tortillas. Yeah. You come here, we'll have I'll make brisket, and we'll do Texas brisket tacos on those tortillas.
That sounds amazing, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, folks? Otherwise, we're just salivating over about food we can't have right now.
Yeah. I'll bring the screen up one more time so we can do one more flurry of emojis, since that's fun. Here we go. All right, everybody go. So it's helton.farm/Michael. So much fun.
It is fun.
We'll see if we can crash Chrome. It is pretty RAM hungry.
Do you get insight on how heavy your Chrome extension is? How do you know how much this thing is costing the browser?
I don't know that answer.
There's probably some tool out there.
Yeah, probably so. The Chrome extension dev process is actually really, really nice. You can turn on developer mode inside of Chrome and just point it to a folder on your machine.
Oh, I was wondering about that. So is this published to the Chrome store?
No.
This is so you can make your own Chrome extensions. There's no review process for that. That makes sense.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So this is just running locally. I do have server resources deploy. That's how we can see this page.
Right.
And get that auth token. But as far as the actual extension itself, it's all running locally.
Gotcha.
Super easy. I do highly recommend it. It's actually a fun little experiment to build one of these. My favorite one I ever used was a dictionary extension where you double click a word in any browser, and it uses the dictionary.com API to give a definition and put a tooltip over the word with the definition of the word.
See, there's such practical use cases.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll be it for us. We're right at an hour and a half. Michael, thank you for joining and asking really good questions.
Thanks for having me. Like I said, a lot of this, actually all of this, was new to me. I didn't know what you were building. I knew the title of the show. I didn't know the architecture. So being able to dive in and ask those questions and have a subject matter expert right here at my disposal was super helpful.
Well, thank you. I do the same thing to Andres, by the way. Whenever I tell him I have an
Grill
idea.
him. Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I tell Andres. Just grill him about everything.
All right. Well, everybody, have a great weekend. And we will see you next week at the start of October. Oh, while we're here, I might as well say October for Believe in Serverless Community is Production Horror Stories Month. So if you have a production horror story, please tell me. And you want to talk about it, please tell me.
Right. Nothing to get you in trouble.
Yes. And of course, that is for Halloween, right? The Production Horror Stories is for Halloween. So if you have something, please share. I would love to hear it, and I know the community loves to hear as well. It makes us all feel a little bit better knowing that we weren't the only one to drop a table in production. So please do share. All right, for real this time, thank you everybody. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next time.